Nonprofits often face problems when developing effective campaigns. The issues range from telling the organization's story to identifying high-quality donors that'll champion your cause.
As a result, you as a nonprofit leader might be spending a lot of time and resources just figuring out where to start, with the possibilities seeming endless and overwhelming.
Today, we're switching it around and talking about nonprofits, specifically the power of community partnerships that you can form.
Welcome back to The Obsessed Marketer, the podcast designed for you, small business owner or nonprofit leader, looking to jumpstart your business and learn quick marketing strategies you can take with you to increase sales, reach, and growth.
I'm Andrew Hayes, your social and digital media specialist.
I'm Joel Schmitz, your copywriter here at Vital Solutions.
And Joel, I like that you switched up the tagline there
Yes.
to include nonprofit leaders, because that's what we're talking about today, a little bit, talking to you, nonprofit leaders. But if you're still a small business owner, this is also going to be beneficial for you to hear as well, no matter what.
Keep listening. Don't stop.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Joel. But that's the thing. Being a small business owner and a nonprofit leader can have some similarities in some point, and that's something that we're going to talk about today is community connections.
Yes.
Building within the community. I'm a big believer in connecting with the community. I know there's a lot of people out there that always say, okay, we need to be focusing on digital. We need to be building our fan base online. And, who really cares about going out and saying hi to people at all? And
those people are doing it wrong.
Yeah, they're doing it wrong, because you still need that community connection, because one, as a nonprofit leader, you're going to need some local sponsors to maybe help you out. And then also it's just getting the word out. Word of mouth is so powerful, and I think a lot of people forget about that.
Yeah, no, it's extremely powerful, and you can't do it alone too.
That's true. Have you? I mean, because you know about local businesses that you go to from word of mouth usually, right?
Oh, 100%. Oh, this restaurant's great. It's so tasty. You got to go there. I will, and then I tell the next person, and that's how it increases their growth.
Yep. So, I mean, it even goes beyond digital marketing, but we'll get into that too for nonprofits. But speaking of word of mouth, we're going to give you a nonprofit from our word of mouth that we love here at Vital Solutions, and they're great friends of us. Who are we talking to today, Joel?
We're talking to Michael Hirsch from Loveworks. He runs a nonprofit that helps kids, gives them the resources they need to grow and figure out their talents and abilities and give them good skills.
Yeah. Fantastic. You're going to want to hear this. So here's a little lowdown on Loveworks Leadership. They're a youth leadership organization committed to helping students discover their potential and pursue their big dreams with programs that focus on building character, leadership development, and becoming real entrepreneurs. And you're going to hear about that too, because there's some students that are making maybe a good food product.
Some real good stories.
I definitely want to try. But they do this through mentorship and experimental learning. Their students are equipped to make positive life choices, empowered to solve problems, and explore their career paths. So they're based in Oklahoma City, in Oklahoma, and they're expanding very rapidly. So
yes.
You'll be hearing about them soon. But let's go in and talk to Michael right now about his organization and how he built strong community connections to grow that nonprofit. All right, so we're here with Michael Hirsch, who's the Executive Director of Loveworks Leadership. Michael, how's it going today?
Oh, it is going awesome. Andrew, great to see you. Great to see you, Joel.
Hey, how you doing? I see
Doing
the ball
awesome.
pit behind you. That looks awesome.
The ball pit, open invite to you all. So if you ever find yourself or your viewers or listeners in Oklahoma City, definitely contact us. We'd love to get you in here.
Yeah, if you're listening on the podcast version right now, Michael has a ball pit behind him, but it kind of goes along with his nonprofit and the organization. So we'll get into that actually right now. But let's jump into it. Michael, tell us about Loveworks Leadership and what you guys do there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you don't mind, I'd love to just launch into one of my favorite quotes, and it gives you a little bit of context of my background and my passion just for the organization. I think it's Aristotle that gets the credit for this, and he says, where your talent and the needs of the world cross, there lies your vocation. And to be honest with you, for too many years, I didn't really have a good idea of what my talent was. And if I was being completely transparent today, I would say that I really wasn't paying too much attention to the needs out there in the world, and really until my early 20s. And it was at that time that I really discovered just a talent for entrepreneurialism, and also too for pioneering. And really was at that point that my eyes were open. And I would say that a burden, I began to carry a burden in my heart for youth and really the state of the next generation. And hence, I found my vocation. And it led me from Phoenix, Arizona, I think there's a Steve Miller Band song, all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma, Los Angeles, California, St. Louis, Missouri. And then I was asked to co-found and now become the executive director of an organization that is called Loveworks Leadership, which works with youth between the ages of 8 to 15. And now I get to live out my vocation each and every single day. And our vision here at Loveworks is to develop and raise up a generation of dreamers and doers, and really to empower them and to equip them with real life skills.
And I'm in love with your organization,
I love
by the way.
That, yeah.
It is something that I wish when I was, growing up, that I would have had the opportunities that you guys, offer to kids.
It sounds so cool and fun and like just good for them because they learn real skills that they can use later.
Well, let's talk about that then. So what are the different types of programs that you offer to students then?
Yeah, absolutely. And you got the gurus, in marketing. So I love that we get to take just this unique angle, in this conversation. And I think this part of it's going to be helpful for your viewers and for your listeners. We've identified some real struggles and needs. Again, I mentioned the state of this generation, and there's a few areas that we've identified that they really struggle in. One is their identity. Really being confident, in their own skin and who they are. Also, too, just lacking just general basic life skills like communication, how to talk to people, look them in the eye. And then also, too, it's not that they have a lack of vision, but what we found, though, is that they've lacked just purpose and really understanding their passion. So to counter that, the types of programs that we've created here at Loveworks started with an after-school leadership opportunity. And I know people might be thinking, oh, after-school leadership, great. They provide food and they play dodgeball and freeze tag, and it's a form of childcare.
Like daycare, no.
You do. And that's why I wouldn't have participated in an after-school leadership opportunity if it had existed. But check this out, guys. Here's what we do. We get an opportunity to infuse them not only with our own programming and DNA and quality programming that we've created over the last 11 years, but we're infusing them with curriculums from the late Stephen Covey to John Maxwell to Angela Duckworth and Grit, with Gallup and with Strength Finders. And again, this is at age 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. Students are getting those experiences through that type of either after school programming. Also have replicated our model into schools. And so we're leading leadership before school, during school, after school. My wife has stopped me from doing it in the evening because that means I wouldn't ever be at home. But that's been really a bread and butter program for us. Also, too, that's been really exciting over the years, the last few years, we're becoming more known now for our programming that's offering kids business programs for kids. So they get an opportunity to experience real world business and entrepreneurship at a very early age.
That is awesome, Michael. I love everything I'm hearing. And you kind of touched on this already, but could you talk about how Loveworks is working with business owners and helping elementary to middle school kids start their own businesses?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'll share with you just two brief stories. The first one started a handful of years ago where our students were working after school on an experience that's called a passion project. And imagine if the three of us were to hang out in a restaurant, the first thing we would do is we receive a menu. And so that's what we give our students. We give them a menu. They have the opportunity to look at various areas and industries that they can connect with, and they could do short-term hands-on project-based learning opportunities, professionals in our community. And so this particular group of students had selected culinary. And I don't know if it's because they just liked eating food or watching the Food Network, but they were working with a professional chef, a retired business owner, and they began working on a salsa recipe. One of the students called me over to ask me to sample the salsa. How can I turn that down? I love salsa.
Absolutely.
And I am a little bit biased. No, of course. But I said to them, this is the absolute best salsa I've ever had in my life. And one of the students, and came from a pretty challenging home situation and background, She didn't know she was dreaming, but she dreamt out loud to her peers, and she said, hey, what if one day we could sell this salsa and it could be sold on the shelves of grocery stores? She's 12 years old. We call our students the what if students, and we're just the why nots. We come behind them and we create safe environments to say, well, why not? Let's try this and see what happens. Little did she know, or her team realize, but that they would become founders of a real company. They would incorporate it into a for-profit entity, and they sold a couple years later their first jar of salsa at a local grocery store. Now it's sold all across the state of Oklahoma. And that's just one story. And over the last now few years, guys, we've had the opportunity to help nearly 100 brand new kid businesses get out there into the marketplace and start selling.
Wow. So then, okay, so what kind of businesses else have been spawned off of these students that come up with these what if ideas?
Absolutely. And it runs the gamut on one end of the spectrum to another. So you heard kind of the unicorn type of story with the salsa, but it doesn't always start there. So we've had businesses that have started with lotion, with candles, with dog treats, smoothies, lemonade, a few of those that you could probably come to expect. But what makes what we do unique and the opportunities, not just Loveworks that's providing, but again, it's professionals from our community that are working with us. We're partnering, we're collaborating. They're walking through processes of ideation, marketing, sales, pitching, communication, finance, budget, and accounting. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've helped the students incorporate a for-profit tech company. They had a dream a couple years ago, and their dream was to start a Silicon Valley tech startup right here in Oklahoma.
Nice.
So they brought back, guys, if you remember, slap bracelets from the 80s. And the magic's in the coding and in the app. So through a tablet or a smartphone, and you can play their original video game. It's now sold in over 100 retail outlets across Oklahoma. They just licensed a character from Japan that's now part of their new business model. And the founders, guys, they're not older than 16 years old. Their youngest started when they were in elementary school, are now selling this in over 17 countries and continuing to grow the business as we speak.
That is insane.
I want to play that.
Yeah, that is insane. So
that's amazing. Yeah.
So you're talking about making these partnerships within the community. We're in Oklahoma City to kind of guide and aid these students. So what kind of businesses do you partner with? How do you reach out to them?
Absolutely, it's a great question, and really it runs the gamut with our partnerships. And I would say this with our organization, that we have not created a one size fits all for everybody. We're like the unique 1 in 7.5 billion, on the face of the planet and world. And so what we do is we personalize and we customize opportunities for our students based upon the things that they are interested in. And so if someone that's listening or watching happened to walk down just our hallway at our physical campus here, they would see different studios, and it ranges from our video and media. We have a marketing studio, fashion, woodworking, culinary. And so we're creating studios based upon what we're pulsing and sensing are the great interests of our students or needs of the hour. And then we get the opportunity to reach out into our community with various businesses and professionals and cast the vision. Would you be interested in lending your time to be able to share your passion and work with our students on short-term goals to help them to figure out what you figured out a long time ago? And it doesn't take long for that professional, really, I think, to connect the dot and see just the value and the importance of the work that we're doing with the next generation.
That is so cool. Do you guys take adults? Can we go?
Joel is enlisting himself right now.
I want to go to the food. I want to go to the woodworking. I want to do all that. That sounds so cool.
There we go. Well, I love about we do get that question a lot from adults. And I referenced Gallup earlier. I know you guys are like the guru and data and in numbers. And what we've learned from Gallup is that 76%, and this has stayed consistent over the last decade or so, 76% of working American adults do not feel energized with the type of work that they're in the workplace. I think that's a massive number. I mean, I can't imagine waking up day in and day out and earning a paycheck, which I do value, but not feeling energized or fulfilled by it. And so oftentimes with other professionals that we work with in the community, it's not necessarily their current profession and expertise that they're sharing with students. Oftentimes it's their passion hobby that they get to bring into the campus as well too, which I think is really powerful. And they find a lot of fulfillment in getting that opportunity, to be able to work. So oftentimes when someone volunteers and works here with our students, they often feel like they've received more than they've actually given.
So we're talking about the importance then of connecting with the community as a nonprofit. So what are some ways that a small, nonprofit leader, like you were at one point, start connecting to the community and reaching out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love that question. There's a few things that I would say. Something that we say around here a lot, and I think this just keeps us humble as an organization and as leaders, as a co-founder, executive, is always remember that it takes a village. That Loveworks is not the end all be all. However, I would say this, that we believe that we're meant to play a part in the community, but it takes a village. The old saying says this, that it takes a village to raise up a child. That's the old Chinese proverb. We like to say that it takes a village to raise up and develop a leader. So I would start there, is remember that it takes a village, it takes a team to accomplish a great work. Secondly, I would recommend being proactive and engaging the community. Remembering again that it's not all about you and your nonprofit, but it's also too like what you can give. And I realize like in any profession that it's strenuous and it takes lots of time and it's demanding and sometimes you feel like you're underpaid, but also too there's value in being able to put yourself out there and engaging in before hours types of community events. During hours or even after hours. I would even recommend not sitting on several, but is there a particular community board or committee that you can sit on? Because that leads really into my third point. What I think that really can happen is that our eyes are really open then to the pain points that really exist potentially in a business or even in a community. And it kind of goes back to my quote. And then we get to find where is that intersection that we can find the opportunity to have synergy, amongst each other and to be able to work together. And I think if someone can keep in mind those three things, I really feel like we could see a lot better work take place, in our various communities and cities across America.
So you're saying that maybe going into the community, like joining a board and stuff like that, is there anything maybe in a digital realm of an online space that a nonprofit leader could do as well to reach out and connect with the community that way?
Ooh, that's a great question. In the online space, in 2020, like many other businesses and organizations, we have had to pivot organizationally. We had only known in our 9-year history at that time, working with students face-to-face and in person. And so in a matter of 1 week, we launched a podcast that we've been wanting to start for 3 years. We used the excuse of time for not being the reason that we started that podcast. And although the last 2 years have been very difficult and challenging, for all of us, the one thing that at least in 2020 it gifted us with was time. And so that allowed us as an organization, I believe, to become just more familiar with the opportunities and advantages that digital components can have. And so it's allowed us now over the last 2 years, not just through our podcast, we've also developed now a online digital learning platform. So students now all around the world, get the opportunity to be able to experience the type of programming that we offer here, not by just walking into our building, but we're able to do that through technology. And so now we're phygital. So we create great physical in-person experience, but then there's also the digital side and components. So at the time of this recording, we're getting ready next week to launch a brand new early kids business program in Pakistan. and it's going to be a pilot program with 15 kids. We also have a school in South Beach, Florida, that is going through our early kids business program. So again, there's a lot of value to expand your reach, and then just opportunities, through the digital space and world to be able to connect with so many other great professionals in various lines of work globally. So that has been just a huge, I'd say, win for us. While that wasn't directly your question, over the last 2 years and becoming more hands-on in the digital world.
See, and I think that's really important too, especially because, building, community building is very important in your local sense, but also being able to widespread that as well, kind of doing both. Like you said, what did you say? Virtual, physical, what was it called? What did you say?
Phygital?
Phygital.
Yeah, that was a good word.
I love that. I'm going to use that later. Okay, well, you mentioned that you guys have a podcast. So do you want to go here? I'm giving you the space here to plug it. Drop it right here. We'll put it in the show notes as well.
And I'm talking to the marketing gurus who can help us finally go viral. That was awesome. Solutions. So we have 2 podcasts. And the first one I mentioned, our vision here at Loveworks is to raise up a generation of dreamers and doers, to empower and to equip them with real life skills. Hence the name of our podcast is called Dreamers and Doers. So over the last 2 years, we've had the fortunate opportunity to now interview 115 different guests from around the world. There are those that we've identified that they're not only a dreamer and have a great idea, but they've done something with that idea and that they are a doer. And so we get an opportunity to hear about just the early beginnings, those first few steps that they took in their journey to go after their goal or their dream. And we hope that that podcast can really encourage kids between the ages of 8 to 15 to really become the best versions of themselves. Our other podcast is called the Biz Boot Up Podcast. And this podcast is unique because it's led by students here at Loveworks. So we have a student host team, production team, and in each episode, there are now 55, we interview 2 guests for each episode, a seasoned professional, and then also a kidpreneur. And so you may get the opportunity to hear from a 7-year-old founder that's telling you a few lessons that they've learned over the course of their very, very early business journey. So thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to plug those 2 podcasts.
Yeah, and if you out there, the nonprofit leader, we have tons of resources on viralsolutions.net about starting a podcast, those benefits, and kind of like the groundwork to doing that. So you can go on viralsolutions.net. We'll have that link down there, as well as Loveworks Leadership's group of podcasts. But Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. Go ahead. You want to plug some more about Loveworks Leadership? Where can they find you and more about your nonprofit?
You are so kind. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. So if you want to learn more just about Loveworks, our programs, what we're doing digitally, in person and digitally, you can find us at loveworksleadership.org. And I'm easy to get a hold of. From the very inception and beginning when we launched our organization, my mobile and cell phone number has been right on the front page. And so you can reach me directly. And of course, you can also follow us on the usual suspects. So ranging on social media from TikTok to LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Loveworks Leadership. And we hope to have a great conversation with y'all.
Awesome. Okay.
Awesome. It's been great talking to you. I love what you guys do. I love your work.
Joel, really appreciate it. Let's get you over to get you jumping in the ball pit.
Yeah, we'll be right over. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Michael.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right. What did we say, Joel? That was what a fantastic organization.
Super cool. I got goosebumps during the salsa story, and it almost
even the tech startup, a video game startup from oh my gosh, now I want to go and try the salsa and go play the games.
Well, we were talking earlier. We wish this opportunity, I wish we had this as kids too. Any kids in Oklahoma, go check this out.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity to the people listening in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and expanding soon. So go check out their links and everything in the show notes below or in the video description. But let's talk about some of the points that he brought up about community connections. Now, one thing that I took away was definitely looking for community boards to join, groups to join.
Yes.
I would even think like maybe a chamber of commerce,
Yeah.
maybe a business association in your local area could be good places to start.
And
to
just
build those
make sure
connections.
people know your name and get to know you. Just make those connections.
Yeah, and then he also talked about kind of digital ways to do that as well. What are they doing?
They started 2 podcasts. One bit more business talk, and one is where the kids run it, I believe.
Yeah, so they have ways to, what did they say? It was physical and virtual.
Yes, and they called it Phygital.
Phygital.
Yes.
Physical and digital ways to reach out and build those connections with the community. Michael was such a great guest, Joel.
I loved him. It was awesome.
And if you want to get any more resources on building your nonprofit, maybe getting some really good donors, or even building those community connections, we can help you out right here at Viral Solutions. Just go to viralsolutions.net and click the little blue chat bubble at the bottom and ask us a question about your nonprofit, and one of our team members will get back to you.
That's it for now. I'm Joel Schmitz.
And I'm Andrew Hayes. Thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you again soon. The Obsessed Marketer is a production of Viral Solutions and produced by Andrew Hayes, Holland Berkey, and Joel Schmitz. Give us a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to let us know what you think. And send any topic suggestions to viralsolutions.net. Just click the blue chat bubble at the bottom of the page. Visit viralsolutions.net for more information on how to strategize, execute, and grow your business. And subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen.